and welcome to another episode of Minecraft Sky Factory. As you can clearly see, things are same as last time, so nothing really has happened over the brief break. I should probably put the bucket away for now. I've got my own sound a bit high, so let me just lower that a little bit. Okay. Anyway, interesting. Just waiting for all these trees to grow. Now, let me see if we have any interesting amounts of ore. In fact, we do have some iron, which would be good to use. Iron ore dust, that's good. I could make an iron ingot, but what would I use it for? I personally cannot imagine anything that I would use it for at this time, but, oh well. Who knows? Who knows? Okay, a tree has finally grown. Now, I don't have any more crooks. I should probably be using crooks. In fact, I do not need more wood than I currently have. Okay. Oh, that's some charcoal. That's fine. That's always good to have. Good to know that it's there. Okay, now let's get ourselves a crook, which I am not. I am indeed not a crook. If you believe that I was a crook, then please do explain why you would believe me to be a crook in the comments below. Also, if you have any questions, perhaps for a Q&A, it would be nice to hear in the comments, because I'm thinking of perhaps doing a Q&A, but I'm not entirely sure whether I should, because I was thinking about waiting until I had at least 50 subscribers, in which case I think there would be plenty of questions individuals might be thinking of asking, but that might not necessarily be true. So, I was thinking, might as well go for it, and ask as many questions as possible. Some might say there is no stupid question, and I would be inclined to perhaps respectfully disagree. There are such things as stupid questions, but I am certain that you, the audience, will not be asking any. I'm joking. Of course, someone will ask one, but who knows? Anyway, even if it is a strange question, I might still want to answer it, perhaps for entertainment purposes, or just because I find it interesting, perhaps. Maybe I find the question interesting. Maybe it is actually more insightful than the person who asked the question initially thought it would be. Maybe it offers some insight into this mysterious voice that goes onto the internet and plays video games. Some insight into the character of me, obviously. Who else would it be insight into? Perhaps the insight into the person who is asking the question. But the Q&A is obviously to answer questions about me. So, if you would like to ask questions, please do so. And I will collect the questions. I might not do a Q&A right away if I do not find a fair number of questions. I might wait for another time. Might as well wait. It's always good to have a lot of questions for a Q&A. Makes the video longer, perhaps slightly... Oh, forgot to replant. That's very important. Perhaps slightly more entertaining to have more questions. By the way, let me just put this on the side. There. see. Pot. I am not looking for weed. Flower pot. Costs carpenter's blocks, which are pretty easy to make. Carpenter's flower pot. I want to make one. I want a companion, something to talk to, something that might be perhaps mildly entertaining to have a conversation with. Of course, this will be an internal dialogue that will be externalized because I do not have someone else in the room with me that is going to talk with me, or on Skype, or in any other communicative method. But I think it would be interesting. Anyway, let me see about making this carpenter's block. It's going to require some sticks. Okay, there. There we are. Oh, wonderful. And I believe that this was a pattern. Yes. We now have a flower pot. Can we place a sapling into it? Or do I have to put dirt into it? I probably need to put dirt into it. Oh, and wouldn't you know it, there is a piece of dirt. Nice. Perhaps I can do this. Ah, it's iron. Iron, good for the bones. Okay. I will deal with this sapling next time. I can just destroy the pot and it would give me the iron. But anyway, I think it's a fair use for the iron that we've got. Fair use. Not in the same sense of fair use on YouTube. That's a very different issue. A very different issue, I might say. But this will not grow, so it will remain a sapling for now. Next episode I will give it a name. Anyway, if you like asking questions, well, then you're in good company. I also ask a lot of questions of people around me, all the time. People ask me, why do you ask such strange questions? And I have to say, well, I thought they would be interesting, you know? Just to ask a question, see what's going on. Perhaps I should use these carpenter's blocks more, but there's not really anything that I could use them with. So there wouldn't be any point to it at the moment. But someone might be asking me, why have you not made a place for spawning monsters to kill them? And my answer to that would be, well, I thought it would be rather dangerous. Of course, you could always worry about... You could always attack the legs, and they wouldn't be able to do too much about that. But the main problem with that is, what if you have a child zombie, in which case they would only be 1 block tall and come through. But then a solution came to my mind. What if I use slabs? So now that I have come up with the idea, I'll put it perhaps somewhere far over there so that it does not interfere with anything that I am doing here. I will not need this at the moment. Apples, I can always eat something later. But let me expand the platform a little bit. Okay. Let us now get onto this task. The reason I am expanding in this direction is because this area is already a decent distance away from from the spot that I usually am located, which means that I would not have to have too many problems with spawning monsters. Hopefully, I do not accidentally fall. That would be rather unpleasant. In fact, I should ensure that I have at least some torches with me in case that some event may go awry. There, 15 should be enough. But the sun is coming down, the moon is coming up, and I will now take a rest. There we are, taking a rest. Lovely. Nice. Okay. Let us put this on the hotbar. In fact, I should probably take care of that tree first. Trees are a valuable resource, you know, and if you did not know that, then I'm rather surprised. But one thing that I am now thinking of is how people think, oh, we cannot use paper, we need to save the trees. And I'm thinking, that does not make any sense. Because if you've ever played Minecraft, you know that if you run out of wood quickly on a skyblock, like I have early on, I decided, oh, I want to make more wood. In other words, supply and demand. By consuming paper, you are increasing the demand for wood. Which means, in turn, if that demand increases, people say, oh look, the trend is increasing, they will attempt to increase the supply. In other words, the more wood you consume, the more wood individuals are likely to grow. Unless you're in a third world country in which people aren't really concerned with that. But in first world and second world countries where people consume wood, they're thinking, well, why don't we just get more? And that is in fact what happens. For every 2 trees that are cut down, 3 trees are planted. So in that sense, it makes sense that consuming more wood produces more wood. It's just economics. So if you're not happy about that, well then, wow, you really must be upset at such things. Wow, these trees are now growing at not an alarming rate, but at a decent rate, which is nice to see. Nice to hear all that wood, all those leaves. Great. Anyway, it is time. No, not yet. Not yet. It is not time to name a sapling. It is not time. Do not make suggestions. I have already settled on a name for that. So, just saying, in case you want a suggestion, this is not the day for that. However, if you want to name something in the future, then that's alright. We can make an arrangement. Alright, let's... Oh, plenty of saplings coming down. That's nice, that's lovely. Oh, yes, lots of wood. Wood is a very interesting resource. It is one of the longest used resources in human history. And I should probably create another crook. Which I am not. A crook. Alright, here we go. Next crook. We are gathering wood at an amazing rate. So we should be getting those bones in no time. But until then, I will be working hard. Not too hard though. You know, cannot strain yourself more than you should. That would be an unwise decision to make. But of course you could say, oh, you're playing Minecraft, that's not hard work at all. And you would be correct in saying that. It is not an extremely difficult game to play. There are more difficult games, such as Zero AD. My goodness, that game can be quite difficult at times. but still, it does take effort. There we are. Let's put one of those in there. And oh look, another piece of dirt. And oh look, another tree. Will this ever end? Maybe. Maybe I'll just let all the trees grow someday. And then we'll just have a bunch of trees that we can gather whenever we need. But today is not that day. Today we must cut these trees down. Interesting. Lovely. Just lovely. Alright. There we are. Oh, must not forget to do this. Good. Very good. Alright. Let's just deal with this later. For now, we, or rather I, will be working on this. Okay. Let's make it 5 wide, just to be safe. And then, over here, we will, or rather I will, because I am the one doing this. You are just an observer in these events. I will now make a little platform on which the mob killing will occur. Speaking of which, I should probably, let's see, do this. Very well, good. Just so that we have an idea on what is going on there. Anyway, I should probably gather a little bit more wood so that we can ensure that this goes well. That should be far enough away. I have not counted the blocks, but I'm confident that it will work. Anyway, let's not use all of that. Let's use some of that to do this. We need some of the rest for some other construction. Alright, so decided that they will be raised. And this would be good. There. So that we may perhaps spawn something a bit larger. Just in case, you know? You might need something relatively large. Okay, here we are. And to do this, we must now raise this. Actually, it would be best to perhaps move over here and finish building this for the time being. And we can close this section off. Alright, the mobs will be at most 2 blocks tall. I do not want any Endermen because they will be an annoyance. Okay, there we are. There we go. That's the ceiling. It is a half-block ceiling, so we will not have any... Whoa, ho, ho, ho. I must be very careful when walking here. Perhaps it would be best to produce fences, just in case. Alright, let's make some fences. Never have enough fence. Let's see. Do we have any? No, we do not have any fence. Alright. Fence, fence, fence. There we are. Let's do that. In fact, we don't need all of this. We only need some of this. There's some sticks. And here's some fences. Now we've got 8 fences. Whoa. Big tree. We might be dealing with that one next episode, depending on events. But for now, this is good. Yes, very nice. That way I will not back into that side as I did before. Now it is time for me to take a rest, and I will see you all next time.